Welcome to Seek Reality. I'm Roberta Grimes, and I'm delighted that you're with us today. Oh, my dear ones, when I was deep in doing afterlife research in the 1970s into the 80s, using hundreds of remarkably consistent and detailed early 20th century reports that were received through deep trance mediums almost exclusively. It was easy peasy. It was wonderful and fun because I could build an amazingly detailed description of what it really is like to die and what the afterlife is like. And of course, I used no near-death experience accounts because although I did study NDEs, I quickly realized they're all aberrant and in the nature of dreams. So you just discard all those. You don't even have to look at them. It was simple. But then along came these two books that briefly, they really freaked me out because they did not fit the other afterlife evidence at all. They're entitled Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls, and their author was Michael Newton. And decades ago, I read his books and then I didn't believe him. So I went back, I read them again, and I wanted to just throw them in the garbage, but I couldn't because I knew there was too much in them that was real. I had to accept what that he had found something, and I had to fit it somewhere. But because I couldn't yet figure out where, I just put him and his books aside. Well, he founded something called the Newton Institute, and he began to certify therapists. And our guest today is Regan Forston, who is one of the more than 200 therapists that the Newton Institute has certified, who are continuing Michael Newton's research since he himself transitioned in 2016. Now, let me first tell you, I think I have figured it out. I think I understand where the Newton Institute's work fits. I'm much more open-minded than I was 25, 30 years ago. But to try to find a way to tie Michael Newton's research to my own for our listeners, let me just add one thing. I think I do begin to understand how his work fits, but I'm eager to speak with today's guest. I've read portions of his book. I didn't have time to read all of it, but his book is fascinating. I'm going to, he's going to share his work with you today. And the only thing I want to be clear about for people who have read and done a lot of understanding and sort of reading of my research and Craig Hogan's research and a lot of the research being done by many afterlife researchers is that the way that we go about talking about what happens when people shed their material bodies, the vernacular term for that is dying. And we know that dying is always one way and permanent. It means the severing of what the Bible calls the silver cord, which is the energy cord that attaches the material body to the energy body. And when people travel out of body, which is a lot, we all travel out of body, and often we do it every night, and then we come back and we're just fine. We slip back into our material body. This happens, of course, while our material body sleeps. Our energy body doesn't need to sleep, so it has a ball during the night. We don't remember any of that, of course. And now, of course, some of those who are taking out of body trips during near death experiences have taken to calling that dying and coming back to life, which it never is. And of course, now comes people who, like our dear, wonderful guest today, sometimes use the term dying and coming back to life, which of course never happens. But when you go to where the dead are and you interact with them, it's natural to think of that as dying and coming back to life. It's just that you and I know that's really not what happens. So just with that little caveat, I want to introduce to you our wonderful, wonderful guest today. Um, his name is Regan. I've forgotten your last name because I'm just looking at all my books. Regan Forston, right?
Yeah, correct.
See, I'm not as dumb as I look. Regan Forston, as I say, he's one of 200 plus people who have gone through what the Newton Institute is doing, teaching people to do what Michael Newton did. And then what the Michael Newton did is a real thing. I don't understand it to this day, but it's real. And I believe I know where it fits. And as we talk with our wonderful guest today, Regan, we are going to talk more about what his book says he has done. And I believe it completely. Just know that he never has actually died, but he has interacted during his out-of-body experiences where the dead are with people who are actually dead and who are going through a perfectly natural experience that many of you and I will go through when we are between our lives. And with that introduction, Reagan, welcome. I have to say, Michael Newton's work confounds me. It also kind of delights me because it's a whole new area that I never have gotten to kind of look at. But thanks to you, we're all going to get to look at it today. And I'm so glad you're with us.
Thank you, Roberta. You're correct in saying that these experiences that I had, and that we've had 70,000 people now do this,
Oh my
and
goodness.
yeah, we're getting up there, um, and they all have basically the same experience by visiting heaven, and that's why it's similar to a near-death experience. But when you say near death, right, they're not dead; they're just near death. So
Yes.
Um, but when I went, I've actually been 3 times now to the other side. I went a third time just last week when I was at a conference in Barcelona with Newton therapists from all over the world. And we were having a conference. We hadn't been able to get together since before COVID. And wow, the new things we're finding out, the new techniques we're using to make this even more successful.
Wow. That's amazing.
It was when I visited the afterlife a second time. I asked the council. I was before council. I says, "Okay, you're allowing us therapists to bring people here. Why? What's the why does it seem like all of a sudden you've opened up a portion of heaven to see?" And they said 3 reasons. The main reason is they want people to realize that their life has meaning and purpose, that they're actually on Earth right now in the middle of their mission. And it's real important right now with the way the Earth is being, that everybody really be on task with their mission, which is to add love or kindness or something of a beneficial thing to the world. Okay, some people have gotten a little off track, or they've gotten sidetracked, and that says no, we're opening up the spot so people can come here. First thing they'll realize is heaven is real. There's an afterlife for sure. You're going to realize that you do have a mission, a meaning, and purpose. And the third thing is to have people realize that you're never alone in this pursuit of your life and your life's meaning right now, because in this process we call it life between lives. People discover where, when we do cut the cord and we go back, where we go. Now we pretty much know a whole lot about what you do when you're there, and until you decide whether you want to come back and give it another go or not. But when Michael passed away, he told us with the Institute, he said, look, I've just begun this process. Don't get stuck in doing everything exactly as I did. He says, keep pushing the frontier, keep keep finding out whatever you can about the afterlife. And we start to have more of an understanding of what it's like. So we've discovered about 6 different stations on the other side. And during a life between process that we take people through, some of the things, you have to excuse me, when I came back from Spain, I came back with the flu from Spain. I think I'm at the end of it now, just have a little bit of a cough, so I'll try to keep that to a minimum if I can here. Um, so what they said was that this part of heaven that people visit. I asked them, these 6 stations that we found in all this place over there, is this heaven? Is this it? And they said, you haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we're finding out that the universes are teeming with life. Um, uh, when people getting to in our process, one of the things they do, people go to a past life, see themselves pass away, and then we have them turn around. There's a guide or an angel there, and then we switch to now time, and that person who they were from that past life goes back home to heaven, and we start talking about their current life, about their goals, their mission, and so forth. Because there's no time and space on the other side, that's possible. Um, I had the other day, I had this woman. She in a past lifetime, she was a man that was a real burly, hard-working guy with, scars all over his hands from hard work and everything. He had a very tough life. So he passes away. Now, standing next to him, seeing who she was in that past life, and that man who she was in that past life is looking at her, knowing that that's him in the future. And then because she had had some trauma when she was 5 years old from an uncle, and it had really messed up her life. I asked the guide if her 5 year old self could show up, and instantly there was her 5 year old self. So now she's looking at her 5 year old self. Her 5 year old self's looking at her, knowing that's her when she's older. And we still had the other gentleman there. So they were all three there together at one. And they got to go to a place of rejuvenation, all three together. And it was beautiful. She was giving some of this healing water to her 5 year old self to try to help heal her from her emotional wounds. Um,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Roberta.
it's okay.
The person who she was in that lifetime was getting to go in this like beautiful heavenly spa to kind of rejuvenate before going back to heaven or home. And she was able to be there in the spa too, with dealing with some of her health issues and stuff she had. So that's one of the places we found that almost everybody, when they have a life between life session, gets to go to this beautiful place of rejuvenation. Um, the second thing that people get to do is they get to go before a council of elders. And before a session, I have everybody pre-prepare questions they want to have answered about their life. And we always ask certain questions that are important about why did they decide to be born? What's their mission? Are they on task or not? And what do they hope to teach? What do they hope to learn? What roadblocks have they scheduled to run into in their life to learn from? That's one thing people find out over there from the council when they're up there like, oh, why is this so difficult down here? And then they'll get to see that before they came down here, they had a contract to decide to go through some difficult things, because that's how you learn, right?
Right. That's
We don't work
virtually
by
always the case. Why? Why is my life so hard? Well, when we're when we're planning our lives, we're eager to take on these difficult lessons because we think we can learn so much from them. It's sort of like when you go to college, you want to take calculus because we think it's
I,
going to help us so much, and it looks like such an easy course before we go to
from
college. And
outside, right?
yeah,
That's the same analogy I was going to use because, we don't go to school and take courses to learn things we already know.
right,
It would be the purpose of that, or something that doesn't challenge us. It's the
right.
same in life that we find out. So, uh, the councils vary. Oh gosh, I've had it just be one person on a council. I've had it be dozens of beings on a council. People see them either in bodily form or they'll see them as energy. We'll ask, should we address the questions to someone individual as the leader of the council? And sometimes they'll say yes, but most of the time they say, just give us your questions to all of us. And then the council will give answers, and they'll answer about anything. If you want to ask about your love life, about where you should be living, or about your job, um, about troubles that you have in your life with different things. Um, and there's never condemnation. There's never, no one ever
Isn't that remarkable? But it's
oh
so
boy,
true.
it's just like
It's just love. It's
love.
only love
Yes,
we
yes,
get
yes.
from those
Roberta,
beings.
exactly. And that's what people, because some people have told me that they didn't want to have a session because they're afraid of being judged. and because they know they've made some bad
No,
mistakes in their life.
it's only people on Earth that judge us. Absolutely.
Yeah. So no, it's and again now, just in case it doesn't come up when we only have an hour, so there's maybe we could talk for 10 hours about this, but um in this
True.
place that they're allowing everybody to go to now, it's above any kind of darkness, any kind of negativity, any kind of devilish, hellish, any kind of thing like that. This is far above any of that. I'm also certified with Dolores Cannon's School of Quantum Healing Hypnosis. And so I've blended Michael Newton's and the quantum healing together. And with quantum healing, we deal with people's health issues that they have in their current life. And so I'll usually ask the council, I'll say, do you have a healer here that we can address health issues with? Or can we ask the higher self to come out and deal with this? Or, and they'll usually have somebody there, you know, and then the first thing we do is when someone has a health issue is we ask, why does my client have this health issue? And it's very revealing, Roberta, when people get the reasons why, in a sense, they've made themselves sick, you know, and that's having to do with, too much emotions held inside from anger, resentment,
Yes.
disappointment. Um, and a lot of that anger, resentment stuff is self-loathing or
We
self-hate
turn it
sometimes because
inward.
it's done.
Yes.
And they try to tell them, they'll say the only thing that's keeping you back from evolving is you need more love. You don't have enough love for yourself, and you may need to work on forgiving others that have trespassed against you,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. Sometimes people cringe when they hear that. They're in trance, but they go, but then they come out of it and they go, well, boy, that was some truth right in my face, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's up to them then to decide, do they want to get to work and work on that and progress spiritually, or do they want to stay stuck? You know, that kind of thing. So the council, it generally, the people, the council members will appear either male, female, or androgynous. Um, and that's the thing to me that's made this is a very beautiful thing is when people are on the other side, we find out we're soul, we're male, female, androgynous, anything in between, that way.
It
When we
seems that the
decide,
higher they go, the more androgynous they seem.
yes,
They don't,
exactly.
it doesn't seem to matter to them. They don't have
No.
a gender preference, really.
And look at the new souls, the new generation now, to where we have all this transgender and LBGT community, everything. A lot of my younger clients, because I have a regular hypnotherapy client, and they come to me and they say they're just gender fluid. In other words, they just love a soul for who that soul is. It doesn't have to be masculine or feminine or whatever. So
Yeah,
to me, I think that's a sign of that we're bridging closer to like the wall between here and the other side is just getting thinner and thinner and thinner.
it is getting thinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, back in the 90s, when Michael would do some of these sessions, people would go so deep into trance, they'd come out of it and they wouldn't remember much. And they had to listen to the recording to see what they talked about and what happened. But a shift changed, Roberta. And now people are totally wide awake. They become like a medium is, where a
Hmm.
medium's wide awake and sees images in their mind.
Hmm.
Um, and that's how people become in this state. So they're listening to me talk to them. But at the same time, they're seeing all these images and everything and totally aware of the process. So sometimes they have this amazing, amazing session and they come out of it and they go, geez, I don't know, did I really experience that? Because I was aware of it the whole time. And I go, yeah, this was the greatest discovery I thought of this whole process. We found out, like Roberta, when you decided to be Roberta and come down and do some light work like you're doing, you had to decide how difficult your life was going to be and how much of your soul self you were going to put into Roberta's body. When we ask that question, when people are in trance, most of them say about half, right around there. So what that means is you're always have that other half of you that's never leaves heaven.
Yes.
It never
Yeah.
leaves.
I think I brought about
So
40%. That's my belief.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Um, some people don't put enough and they come down here and they got to live with their choice because they didn't realize how tough it is here on Earth. You
Yeah.
know, and they go, what was I thinking? I should have put like 80% of myself.
Right.
But so what that means is when people go to the soul group, these are souls that they are, it's like a group of buddies, you know, souls that have been around a long time and they kind of stick together, help each other with the other individuals' incarnations by playing different roles together. Uh,
Hmm.
Sometimes one's the wife, sometimes the next time he comes back as the husband, you know, or the son or the daughter or the best friend
Right,
or
right. Yes.
kind of thing. You know, children have different lessons to learn than some lessons are universal, but a lot of times children need to learn a lot of things like to have a parent around them that sets boundaries for them. You know, uh, um, and sometimes parents are just too. You know, I found out a lot of parents have found out they need to lighten up a little bit because
Yeah.
they're just so into their kids' lives that they're not allowing them to grow because they're holding them back from being too controlling, you know, that way. And that's hard for moms, especially moms, to come out of it and go, oh, I mean, I got to give my kids some space, you know, kind of thing.
I
So,
looked into those newborn faces and I
uh,
knew right away that is that this is not the first go around. For each
you
of
know,
those children, you
that's
I
become,
knew they were old souls.
yes, that's becoming more evident from TikTok and all these things of people filming their babies, and you can see the wisdom in those little guys.
Oh, yeah, I knew. I just have to make sure I don't make any mistake that damages this old being who has come in this tiny new body. The body's new, but the being is old.
See, and
And
that's
that
why
was
in
before
this
I knew a tenth of what I know now. I mean, I was I was early in my research at that time, but you could see it when they're newborns.
see, that's what's a benefit of this research, Roberta, and people understanding now we're finding out all kinds of information because when when you know this now, that these babies you have are old souls,
Oh yeah.
look when that baby comes in there, you're going to look at that and be a completely different kind of mom or dad when
Oh
you
yeah.
realize that you have the responsibility that you have. And so, yeah, I did have one case where a mother was estranged from her daughter. The daughter just somehow ghosted her, just cut her off, and she doesn't know why. You know, it says not like they had a big fight or anything, but her daughter's about ready to have her first grandchild. So on the other side, I had an aha moment, and I asked the guide. I says, is the soul that's just about to be her granddaughter uh, here?" And they said yes. And all of a sudden, here's this little soul comes up, and she's able to talk to her soon-to-be granddaughter. She learned her heavenly name, which was I forget what it was, Ariel or something beautiful like that. And uh, she asked the woman that I had in trance asked her soon-to-be granddaughter over there, "Why did you decide to be born to to my daughter?" And she says, "One of the reasons is to help you two get back together again." You know, that was nice. So during the intake, I have them write a list of, you know, the key players in their life and a paragraph about them. A lot of people did not get along with their brothers or sisters, their mom or their dad, or you know, they had really bad relationships. And I'll say this is the time when you want to talk to them over there and find out, just get some answers to why all this is going on. And I'll tell you, Bert, in the last 8 years, it's been one of the best things in my life is to start interacting with my grandchildren. You know, it's given me so much more love in my life and happiness.
Children are way too much trouble. I mean, forget having children, but the reason to have children is because you get grandchildren. That's the reason. It
Yeah,
just makes it all worthwhile when you have all those little grandchildren.
some of them I have three of them. One of them just graduated college, and I have two
Wow.
going in there. But then I have my youngest is like 7 years old now. You know, so yeah, it's quite something.
It is
So
such a special relationship. It really is.
yeah. So those four things are generally what people in a life between life session experience, a place of rejuvenation, go before the council, get their questions answered, get their health issues discussed. And sometimes I've had a couple of people have healings right in front of my eyes. Which,
Wow.
but I got to finish with this story of uh, uh, a woman came to me in her 50s. She was a dancer. She was looking for a salsa partner because she wants to compete. She just couldn't find anybody good enough. So on the other side, they allowed her to go to this place of inspiration for dance. And all of a sudden, she's looking out at this dance floor. And some people were doing a cha-cha, some people were doing a waltz, and there were some salsa dancers. And that confused me. I says, wait a minute. Everybody's got different music for all those dances. How are they all dancing together? And she says, well, they're all hearing the music that they need to hear, whatever their dance was.
Really? Isn't that wonderful?
Yes. And so I said, is there a salsa teacher here? And they said, yes. All of a sudden, right before appears this salsa teacher that teaches salsa in heaven. And I said, is it possible for my client to have a dance with him? And they said, yeah. And she was having, you should see her face. She was just in. And when she was done, she goes, oh my God, I'll never find anybody like this down here on earth. Um, but when she was before the council, she says, I'm so upset because I'm not getting cast anymore. Like I've been cast for 20 years and now I'm not getting cast anymore. All these young girls are getting cast instead of me. And the council looked at each other, they looked at her and smiled and said, time to be a teacher, you know? And
Yeah.
he goes, I know, you know, it was time for her to pass on the wand to the younger dancers, you know? So, yeah, there's so many stories that I have because I've helped hundreds of people have this experience now, Roberta. And on my website,
Okay,
visit
give people that
life.
website.
Yeah, it's visittheafterlife.com. Real easy. Visittheafterlife.com. So
Great.
videos on there that explain a lot of this process. They can even watch a young person, a young girl going through the process on there. So they can get a hold of me there. And for your listeners today too, um, there's the book that I wrote there called Reincarnation is Real, which is about all the current research being done. I'm giving that away to if anybody says, "Hey, I heard you on, I was on Roberta's show and Seek Reality," and I'll be happy to send them a free ebook copy of Reincarnation is Real. So
Really? That's a good deal.
yeah, that would be would help that way. But yeah, so what I would say is they would hope that the least a person would get out of having a session is to have the fact that they do realize that they have a mission and purpose, that heaven is real, that they're never alone. And it's time to wake up every morning and to declare yourself as a vehicle for spirit, so that when you go out during the day, that you add a lot more pluses to the world rather than minuses. Okay, we have to stop complaining, stop bitching about this and that, and just look and see what we can do to help, um, even if it's just something simple, to add to the love of life and not take away with any hatred or, you know, meanness of some sort.
Yes.
And I got to work on this cold.
Beautifully said, because where we're going, there is nothing but love.
Yes, Roberta.
And no, don't talk anymore. You stay right there. I'll be right back. I'm just have to sum things up for our beautiful friends. Oh, my dear loved ones. These books that I've sort of thought were because he makes it sound in those books as if this is more foreign than it really is. This is just an aspect of the gigantic afterlife. And this is where people who are there can go and get a lot of their questions answered too. And so can we go. And what this go to visittheafterlife.com and talk with our beautiful And because this is something which I think everything needs to know a lot more about. But we've come to the end of our time today. And once again, my beloved friends, understand you are a powerful, eternal being. You never began, you never will end. And when you get that, when you really internalize that fact, it changes everything, everything in your life for the better. Next week,
Yes.
our guest is going to be our wonderful all-time Secret Reality favorite, Dr. R. Craig Hogan. He's going to be here, believe it or not, for the 47th time in just over 10 years of our spending precious time together every week with so many wonderful experts. Craig Hogan is the world's leading expert by far on all things death and afterlife, and he is just plain a ray of joy and sunshine for all of us. He and I together are the powers that began SeekReality.com, where we have assembled all the genuine evidence we have been able to find for the fact that if you're alive and if you're aware right now, if you are, and you might not be, but if you are alive and aware eternally. But it's been Craig who has really made that website the truly amazing place it is. So go to seekreality.com, learn that your eternity really is glorious. And we just learned a little more about that today. And then please be sure to join Craig and me next week. And our guest this week has been Regan Forston, and he's one of the more than 200 therapists and actually many, many, many more people that the Newton Institute has taught these wonderful, glorious truths in a whole new way. Michael Newton, who passed away in 2016, wrote amazing books, Journey of Souls, Destiny of Souls, that really have to do with the intensive process of spiritual growth from a whole new direction, as it would be viewed without the more familiar to us sort of human-like trappings that most of us think of as the afterlife. And our guest today, Regan Forston, has written a brief and fascinating book entitled 3 Hours, 33 Minutes in Heaven, and he talks there about his own experience. I recommend the book. It is fascinating. And now we have actually no time left, so I'm going to sort of forego talking about
Well,
my own
sorry
book.
about the coughing, folks, today, but when
I'm
you,
sorry, what, dear?
I says, when you have God's work to do, in a sense, the cold can't keep you down.
No, nothing keeps you down. Obviously, nothing's going to ever keep you down.
Yeah.
Remember one more website that we have, my dear friends. Teachingsbyjesus.com is your best resource for all the beautiful divine truths that are brought to us now in perfect love by the greatest teacher of them all, Master Jesus. Now it really is his turn. He needed one finally. As Christianity, the religion that was created by the Roman Emperor Constantine and not by Jesus at all, finally dies, the genuine teachings of Jesus can at last truly come alive for us all. So you might as well, sooner or later, decide that it's time to visit Jesus on his website. And of course, if you want to talk about anything at all, you always can contact me through the green contact block on robertagrimes.com. It takes a while for me to get to all those emails because, in fact, I do get a lot of emails since I invite them. Just make sure you give me your correct email address so I can email you back. And all of the more than 550 past episodes of Seek Reality are available wherever audio podcasts can be found. You also can see our new video episodes each week on Roku, Fire Stick, YouTube, and elsewhere. And meanwhile, this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Please enjoy, please make the most of this coming week in our one reality, always knowing that you are a powerful, eternal being. You never began, you never will end. And you, in particular, most of all in this entire universe, you are infinitely, eternally, and perfectly loved.
You've been listening to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Roberta blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Join us every week as we explore what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about the one reality we all share. Knowing the truth changes everything.